The luxury car rolled slowly over the cobblestone street, a stark contrast to the quiet simplicity of the small town. Michael Whitmore sat motionless in the back seat, his gaze drifting out of the window, scanning the familiar streets he had abandoned years ago. This place had once been his entire world, a place where music filled his soul, where his mother had encouraged him to follow his dreams, but he had walked away from it all. The fresh countryside air was a sharp difference from the suffocating atmosphere of the city where he had built his business empire. But in recent years, that empire had begun to crumble. Bad decisions, constant pressure, and the endless chase for success had drained him. Standing at the edge of triumph and collapse, he couldn't shake the question, if I lose my wealth and status, what do I have left? And if I chase them forever, will I ever truly be happy? That question haunted him every night. And then, one day, he realized the only thing that had ever truly made him happy wasn't the zeros in his bank account, but the melodies he used to play on his mother's old piano. But was it too late to return? He stepped out of the car, his expensive suit feeling out of place in this peaceful setting. Dragging his heavy suitcase behind him, he hesitated at the old wooden gate. Every step forward felt weighted with doubt. The door creaked open, interrupting his thoughts. A middle-aged woman stood there, her dark brown hair neatly tied back, her eyes reflecting both surprise and warmth. "You must be Michael Whitmore," she said, gently but confidently. Michael frowned slightly, studying her. "Sorry, but who are you?" She smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. "I'm Lily Anderson. I'm your mother's new housekeeper. She's waiting for you in the living room. Please, come in." As he stepped inside, everything felt frozen in time. The worn-out furniture, the bookshelf stacked with old sheet music, and the lingering scent of wood, warm tea, and something unmistakably familiar. The scent of his mother, Eleanor Whitmore. At the center of the room, she sat in her favorite chair, her eyes lighting up the moment she saw him. "Michael, my son!" Her voice was filled with emotion. Michael stepped forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Hi, Mom. I'm home." Lily stood silently nearby, an unreadable expression in her gaze. Michael studied her once more, a distant memory surfacing in the back of his mind. Eleanor Whitmore held her son's hand tightly, her eyes glistening with both joy and a hint of sorrow. How long had it been since she last saw her son in this house? "Come sit down, my dear," she said, patting the seat beside her. Michael sat down but felt a lingering awkwardness. The years apart had created a gap between them, and he wasn't sure how to bridge it. His gaze wandered around the room, taking in the familiar surroundings. Everything was just as he remembered, except for a few small changes. New curtains, a different reading lamp, and most notably, the old grand piano still standing proudly in the corner. "Do you still remember how to play?" Eleanor asked, her voice warm and hopeful. Michael chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I even touched a piano." Eleanor let out a soft sigh, but there was no disappointment in her expression. "Music never left you, Michael. You're the one who turned away from it." Michael fell silent. She was right, and he knew it. But how could he go back when he had spent years trading music for wealth and power? Lily, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. "Mrs. Whitmore told me you used to play without even needing sheet music. That's really impressive." Michael turned to her, intrigued. Her voice was casual, but something in her eyes made him feel like there was more to her words. "There's something familiar about you," Michael said, narrowing his eyes. "Wait, did we go to school together?" Lily smiled, a bit shyly. "Actually, we went to high school together. I always sat in the back, carrying my music notebook. You probably wouldn't remember." Michael blinked as a faint memory surfaced. A quiet girl, always jotting down notes, always watching from afar. Someone who had noticed him while he had been too busy chasing other things to notice her. Eleanor's smile deepened as she watched the realization dawn on her son's face. She gently squeezed his hand. "You once lived for music, Michael. Maybe it's time you found your way back to it." Michael's gaze drifted toward the piano, a storm of emotions stirring inside him. Michael sat in his old room, the very space where he had once composed melodies effortlessly in his youth. But now, everything felt foreign. The music that once poured from his soul so freely had faded into silence. He had tried to place his fingers on the piano keys, but every note felt hollow. Music, the very thing that had once defined him, now seemed like a distant stranger waiting on the sidelines, hoping he would open up, but he didn't know how. A soft knock on the door broke his thoughts. Lily stepped inside, carrying a tray with a steaming cup of tea and a plate of biscuits. "I thought you might need a break," she said, placing the tray on the table. Michael looked at her, then at the scattered sheets of unfinished compositions on his desk. Lily followed his gaze, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Are you working on something new?" she asked, gently. Michael let out a weary sigh, running a hand through his hair. "Not exactly. I'm trying to write, but nothing comes out right. I think I've lost it." Lily bit her lip, as if debating something. Finally, she spoke softly. "I don't believe that." Michael arched an eyebrow. "Oh? And why not?" Lily smiled, a small, knowing smile. "I've read a lot of your interviews before. You always said that music isn't just about skill, it's about emotion, about soul. I think that part of you is still there. You're just afraid of something." Michael froze. For the first time in years, someone had spoken about his music in a way that wasn't about money or fame, but about its true essence. "Do you still have your notebook?" he asked suddenly. Lily blinked in surprise, then nodded. "I do. I never really gave up on music. Life just didn't give me the chance to follow it." Michael studied her, realizing there was something profoundly familiar about her journey. They had both once loved music, both had been swept away by the demands of life, and now, somehow, fate had brought them back to the same path. Outside the window, the sun dipped behind the trees, but inside Michael, a small spark of light had just been rekindled. In the days that followed, Michael slowly adapted to the slower pace of life in the small town. He spent more time with his mother, listening to her stories, tales of her youth, of moments he had never taken the time to know before. But one afternoon, as they walked through the backyard garden, Eleanor suddenly reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "Michael, there's something I need to tell you." Her voice was soft but serious. Michael turned to her, noticing the tiredness in her eyes. "What is it, Mom?" Eleanor hesitated for a moment, then let out a quiet sigh. "I'm sick, my dear. The doctors, they don't have much hope." The world around Michael tilted. He stared at his mother, unable to process her words. No, that can't be true." Michael's voice cracked, his hands tightening into fists. "Mom, why didn't you tell me? Why did you go through this alone?" Eleanor gave him a small, sad smile. "I didn't want you to worry. I wanted you to come back here not out of obligation, but because you truly wanted to." Michael clenched his fists, guilt rising inside him. All these years, he had been so consumed by success that he had forgotten what mattered most: his family. Nearby, Lily stood silently, watching the conversation unfold. She had known about this for a while. She had been the one caring for Eleanor, listening to her worries, the very things Michael should have been there for. "That's why I hired Lily," Eleanor continued. "Not just to help me, but to help you. You lost yourself, Michael. I just wanted you to find your way back before it's too late." Michael took a deep breath, struggling to stay composed. He couldn't change the past, but maybe, just maybe, he still had a chance to make things right. Beside him, Lily finally spoke, her voice gentle yet unwavering. "You don't have to face this alone, Michael." He turned to her, and for the first time, he truly saw her presence in his life. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He sat on the front porch, his gaze lost in the starry sky. Thoughts swirled in his mind about his mother, his life, the years he had wasted chasing wealth while forgetting what truly mattered. Soft footsteps approached behind him. Lily quietly sat down beside him, keeping a respectful distance, as if sensing he needed space. "What are you thinking about?" she asked gently. Michael let out a long sigh. "I don't know. I feel lost." Michael exhaled shakily. "Leaving is easier. Running is what I do best. But if I run now, I'll lose more than just my mother. I'll lose myself completely. My mother, I don't want to lose her." Lily looked at him, her gaze both gentle and firm. "You can stay. But more importantly, you need to truly face what you've been avoiding." Michael turned to her. "Do you really think I can?" Lily smiled, a small, sincere smile. "I think you always could, Michael. You just need to believe in yourself." He fell silent, considering her words. His entire life had been spent proving himself to the world, yet he had never stopped to ask what he truly wanted. Michael lowered his head, his voice barely above a whisper. "I used to love music, but I'm afraid I'm not the musician I once was." Lily placed her hand over his, a simple gesture, but filled with comfort. "Music never left you, Michael. It's always been there, waiting for you to return." Michael looked down at her hand, then back at the sky. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of light inside him, a chance to start over, not for fame, not for money, but for himself. And this time, he wouldn't run away. In the weeks that followed, Michael spent most of his time with his mother. He cared for her, listened to the stories he had once ignored. Every moment with her became more precious than ever. One afternoon, as they sat in the garden, Eleanor took his hand, her eyes filled with warmth. "Michael," she said softly, "I want you to promise me something." He gently squeezed her hand. "Anything, Mom. Don't close yourself off again. Don't run from the things you truly love." She looked at him, then toward Lily, who was arranging flowers nearby. "And don't let the person you need most slip away." Michael followed her gaze. Lily was smiling gently, unaware of their conversation, but there was something in her presence, something genuine, something warm. "I've always believed you were meant to live through music," Eleanor continued, her voice calm but firm. "It's a part of you, just as love is a part of life itself." She squeezed his hand one last time. "Let your heart lead the way." Michael inhaled deeply. "I promise, Mom." That night, after tucking his mother into bed, Michael found Lily in the kitchen. Without a word, he pulled her into a firm embrace. "Thank you," he whispered, "for being here, for reminding me who I am." Lily pulled back slightly, meeting his gaze. "I only reminded you of what you've always known." Michael smiled, his first real smile in a long time. A few days later, Eleanor passed away peacefully, leaving a deep void in Michael's heart. But this time, he wasn't alone. And in a small room beside his mother's old piano, he picked up a pen and wrote his first piece in years. Not for money, not for fame, but for himself, for love, and for everything that truly mattered. Over the past few weeks, Lily had been by his side. She had quietly encouraged him, reminding him that music had never truly left him. On late nights, when he struggled with unfinished compositions, Lily would bring him tea, sit beside him, and listen. She never rushed him, never pushed. She was simply there, a steady presence when he needed it most. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let his fingers move. The first notes filled the air, gentle, nostalgic, yet deeply emotional. Each melody carried a memory. The nights spent practicing with his mother, the moments when he played music purely for the love of it, not for fame. Lily stood at the doorway, watching silently. When Michael finished, she stepped forward softly. "This piece," she murmured. "You wrote it for her, didn't you?" Michael nodded, his hand still resting on the keys. "For her, and for myself, but a part of it is also for you." Lily blinked, slightly taken aback. "For me?" Michael turned to her, his gaze filled with sincerity. "If it weren't for you, I might have never found my way back to music. You've been here, encouraging me, reminding me to believe in myself. Lily, every note I've written since I came back, it has a piece of you in it. You've been my muse, my anchor, and I don't want to face the future without you." Lily was quiet for a moment, then smiled softly. "Are you asking me to be your girlfriend, Michael?" Michael chuckled. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking." Lily met his gaze, her eyes shining. "Then, I'd love to." And as she placed her hand over his, Michael knew this wasn't just a new beginning in music. This was the start of a love he had never expected to find. As the final notes faded into the quiet air, Michael looked at Lily and smiled. This was just the beginning of music, of love, of a life he had almost forgotten to live. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments below. Share your thoughts. What was your favorite moment? Have you ever faced a moment where you had to choose between success and passion? And if you want to see more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thank you for being a part of this journey. See you in the next story.